Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing, the podcast for manufacturing leaders and professionals.
Designed for high impact on your way to work or unwind on your way home to gain clarity for tomorrow.
Step out of your comfort zone and discover new perspectives to add value, get results, and make a difference.
Yes, let's jump in.
You know, Dave, I've been working a long time on my awareness of others, and I'm a task-oriented, go-get-'em type person, and really been trying to balance that. And the same thing is that I always kind of wake up thinking I'm a good person, but then sometimes I find myself being short with people. And someone said to me, you know, it's not about, you got to try to be kind. You just got to be mindful of not being unkind. What do you think of that, Dave?
Wow, that's crazy. First of all, I appreciate you admitting you're working on your self-awareness, because that's all part of the process here. But as we all are, especially me, but you know, with kindness, hey, my take on that is you can be kind all day long, but if you're not aware of how you come across, people read through that kindness perhaps as manipulative, or a little bit of it's not sincere. And you may be kind, but you're truly unkind in the eyes of others. And it's kind of cool. We've got Elizabeth Gist with us here today, and she is got a quote or a motto that is just phenomenal. It's basically, genuine kindness is tested and proven method in leaving people better than when you met them. And that's extraordinary. And I used to say that about safety at work in a manufacturing environment. We want people to leave as good or better than they were when they came here. But Elizabeth's put a different twist on this relative to kindness. And we're going to jump in with Elizabeth today on this topic and many others, I'm sure, as we go. But welcome, Elizabeth. How you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you so very much, Dave and Trevor, for having me. I am super excited and stoked to be here with you all today.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, you know, from Queens, New York, as a native of Queens, New York, with this migration south, you know, as I understand from back in 06, kindness was not a part of your experience, and one of the reasons that you moved to South Carolina.
Right.
I'm going to jump in there and ask you to unpack that for us, because you've got a great story there.
In 2006, I didn't understand kindness. I was actually, I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I uprooted my family, my 3 boys at the time, and moved to South Carolina. Barely knew anyone here, had some family here, and really just was looking for that fresh start. And, you know, being from Queens, New York, kindness is not really the thing that's associated with the New Yorker. You know, you've got the, you know, I'm walking here kind of thing going on. And, you know, so I always felt that, yes, I was born and raised in New York, but I believe I've always been a Southern belle, you know, at heart. But kindness is just, to me, it is just the most important thing. To me, it is the currency of success. It is what I have used. It is tested and proven. More than likely, people will understand, you know, how your interactions have impacted them, and they'll want to experience those things over and over again. And the method that has to be included in that is going to be kindness, and how you continue to treat others, and how, you know, that is reciprocated through relationship.
Wow. Trevor, I mean, don't ask me about kindness. I mean, you set me up in the beginning of this, but that's why I'm so glad Elizabeth's with us here today.
Yeah, Elizabeth. So what do you think for kindness then? You believe like everyone is naturally kind, and then our brains are kind of hardwired, and stealing from Brene Brown a bit there, but you know, we love to judge. And for some reason, our brains, if we're not intentional, just turn to that judgment, and it's not a good feeling. And I catch myself doing it sometimes, and it's kind of like, why did that unkind thought, where did that come from? Because I don't want that. Where do you think that comes from, or what are your thoughts on that?
I believe it's the understanding of kindness. Kindness is not the absence of judgment. It's not the absence of error. I think it is intentionality. It is you are making an intentional decision to treat someone better, than maybe they would expect, to go above and beyond what's expected. And kindness sometimes has this, I guess, misperception of being weak, or just being no place in the workplace, or I've got to be aggressive, or you don't have to. You can have such significant presence and leave a kind I guess feeling with someone, and just really just have an exchange that is pleasant. So I can still have great influence. I can still have great negotiating skills, but you may want to do business with me more because of the experience you have with me. I am all about experience. Every experience, every interaction with someone should be 5 stars or very close to it, or we should be striving to it.
So how did you, like, that's beautiful what you said. And how did you get from like that New York state to that, how well you articulate that? And I can just feel the passion in your voice when you say that. Was there something, how did you get there?
I think if I may use just the experience of being a domestic violence victim, of course, you don't have a voice. You don't really know how to advocate for yourself. You're receiving things that are not kind or unkind, as you mentioned earlier. So I really had to learn first to be kind to myself. And then I also had to learn to be kind to others, because I was so suspicious of everyone. Every interaction, I figured this would bring some form of hurt. And there was a defense mechanism that was up. So I felt like, maybe I'm not going to show my kind side because I don't want you to take advantage. And I started realizing I was running into these brick walls because I had such a tough exterior. And when I learned this key skill and actually transferred it over into my professional world, I'm telling you, like, my success with people just skyrocketed through the roof because I was able to be vulnerable. And that's why I'm so transparent with my journey, my success, everything that I've accomplished. Hey, whatever I know, I am willing to share it with you because I believe it'll help make you better.
Wow. So when I think of the best compliment I've ever received, it is, Dave, you're one of the kindest people I've ever met. I'm not sure that I've heard that but once or twice in my life, right? And it's like, why don't I hold that with greater regard? Why is that not a great higher priority for me? Well, the bottom line is it doesn't sound or feel that manly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a manufacturing environment, it's about being tough. It's about delivering. It's about hitting home and, but I'll also tell you that I have fired people with the utmost kindness, to where when they walked out of the room, they either shook my hand, hugged me, smiled, and said, thank you at that termination point. And I think that's just a real demonstration of kindness. Kindness, like you had said earlier, is not a weakness. It's not something that shows a sign, shows vulnerability. It's something that basically commands the situation or commands the circumstance. And a kind person you can be kind in whatever it is that you're doing. And this is awesome. It's a great conversation. To change it up just a hair, I want to talk a little bit about something that I know about you, where you believe that you've got to have this mindset where average is average, but breaking through this glass ceiling is like you can do this. I can do this, regardless of who you are. And from your background, your life story to where you are today, you know glass ceilings,
I
right?
do. Mhm.
I know glass ceilings, believe it or not, as a white guy, right? I know a glass ceiling. I know it when I see it. I know when I feel it. I know when I experience it. But what's your take on the trick, other than kindness,
Mhm.
right? Which is in there. Where's this coming from? That this mindset of, man, we can break this glass ceiling. Take us down that path.
So, back to your analogy of glass ceilings, that is one of my favorite sounds. The sound of glass hitting the floor after you have shattered the ceiling. I love it. I
Yeah.
love being
Nice.
perceived as the underdog and then just coming in and just kind of walking and leading the pack. That's me. And I only learned that by taking advantage of all of the opportunities. So, for example, moving to South Carolina, didn't really have any employment. When I first got here, it was almost like you needed to know someone to get in here. I knew I had skills, but you needed to know someone. So I ended up traveling back and forth to New York for a year via Greyhound, mind you. So having to go back and forth until I was able to find a position here. Once I landed a position here, I knew in my mind, I'm not going to waste this opportunity. I have been giving a second chance. And so I'm going to take every opportunity given to me and just run with it. So the first step is to really believe that you can be something other than what you've been. So it does start with a mindset. It starts with something of saying, okay, what I've done to this date, I want it to be different with what I do tomorrow. So even now, if you look at my story now, it is so uncommon. I didn't graduate from college until I was in my 30s. I'm now a director of human resources. I own a consulting agency. I'm a director of human resources for 5 branches at Carolina Foothills Federal Credit Union, which I absolutely love working there because it gives me an opportunity to get in the community. But all of that aside, all of that couldn't have been done without a renewed and retrained mindset. So all of those things would just allow me to say, hey, I'm just going to keep breaking barriers and just shattering glass ceilings. And that wasn't done by anything that I've done. It's not that I'm that great that I was able to do it. It's a renewed mind that transform you. And kindness helped more people take chances on me than rudeness. So being kind is what allowed people to say, hey, I want to take a gamble on her. And they're winning.
I like that whole concept of, you look externally to things, but I say, never trust someone that gives you a shirt that isn't wearing one.
Mhm.
So it's kind of that same thing of, you got to look inside yourself.
Mhm.
So for the listeners then, Elizabeth, like, how do they know, right? How do they know, are they being kind to themselves and to do those things, those accomplishments that you had to work on yourself first, and then that because you got yourself in that right mindset, you were able to do it. You did anything you wanted to do. And
Yeah.
how about for someone, when you talk to people, and I know you've helped others, how do you help someone that's maybe stuck and right now they're trying to touch that glass ceiling, they're not breaking through?
Mhm.
What can they do listening and maybe driving into work right now?
One of the biggest things I believe is understanding your expectations. If we understand frustration, frustration is unmet expectation. It means that I haven't clearly communicated my expectations to you, and therefore you can't meet them. I never told you what I was looking for. So I think if that person understands truly what it is they're expecting from whether it's the organization they're in, whether it's the business they're trying to launch, the book they're trying to write, whatever it is they're trying to do, they have to have that vision and goal. Once you have that vision and goal in place, then you can begin to command the response that you're looking for. And I use command very loosely because I don't use it in a way to where you have to come in abrasive and aggressive. You don't have to do that. I think if you're very clear in advocating for yourself, also giving out what you expect to receive. So if you're looking for support, if you're looking for genuine leadership, you've got to put those out there. You can't, kind of hoard in all of your kindness to yourself and expect everyone else to divvy out their areas of kindness. That's just not fair. So I think you have to be positioned enough to show the world what it is you're expecting for them and be okay to actually receive it and do something with it. And then be okay to give it out. You don't keep it, you give it. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that ties into that whole, transformational aspect that I know that you have experience in your space. How does that tie into that whole transformation?
Transformation, I think it is about transforming the area. Most people, you can transform two areas. One, internally, you can transform what's happening within you and within your mind. You also have the power to influence your environment. And that is really what I specialize in with leadership development, is really teaching the leaders, or whether it's emerging leaders or leaders that have been doing this for 15 plus years, you have the authority and ability to transform your environment if you're willing and open to change. If you keep giving out the words, the 7 expensive words, we've always done it that way. If you keep giving out those words, you're never going to experience transformation. Transformation is intentional change. Change is disruptive. You have to be willing to disrupt your normalcy. So even in organizations, that's why I say relationships are so key, and being intentional and building those relationships, because it's going to require change. It's going to require you to do something different than you've always done.
So Elizabeth, you did something that you had never done before in making the transition from New York to South Carolina, but let's bring it up maybe more recently and share with us, I'm putting you on the spot here, but
Okay.
share with us a transformation that you've made recently that really took an intentional effort in checking your mindset. What would that be?
So for me, and I'll talk about joining the credit union, if I may. Joining the credit union, whole new industry. I came from a large retailer. So I came from a large sports retailer. And so going into the credit union was a totally different new industry. So I was coming in brand new to an organization that never had an HR person at all. They've always kind of operated on their own. And I was tasked with, having all these policies and procedures and things, and I was fine with that. But what I asked from my CEO is, may I have time to just go sit with the employees? And he kind of, looked at me a little perplexed, and he said, well, do you want to start there? And I said, yes, because I need their buy-in. I need to build relational equity with the employees. So my first 2 weeks, I believe I went around to all the branches and I sat down one-on-one with all employees. And I went in thinking that I had to find out the problems, solve the problems. I didn't. All I had to do was sit down and listen to them and influence them and make them aware that they were the solutions to the problems that they had. And there were some things, of course, that were out of their scope of control that I needed to take care of. Cool, we can do that. But for some of these things, they're in your wheelhouse. You can do this. You can fix these things. And it was so amazing because it took me out of the mindset of a problem solver to a part of the solution that was already in place. So I was coming in thinking I needed to wear a cape and fix all these things. They already had what they needed. I just needed to help influence the change.
Wow. And that transformation was not transactional. It was a process. It was relational.
It was relational.
Too many times, I remember and think about where, in order for me to transform, to change, to take it to the next level, it's like, what box do I need to check? Right? From a performance basis, what can I do, as opposed to making that investment in over time and with the relationships of the people and look at it more of as a process.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'll add this to it, if I may, it was a matter of just creating those just because moments. And I ended up, and I still do these to this day, where I just send a Skype, how are you? How's the family? What's going on with you? And it's to the point to where now, not only am I having conversations with the employees about HR issues and topics, but they're telling me, hey, I just bought a house. I want you to see my daughter's, dance recital. So I'm ingrained in their life. And I think it's so important because they spend so much time at work. Why would you want to spend time at a place where no one cares about what you have going on? So it's so important to build those relationship blocks and just continue to build upon them. And they just kind of serve itself because now employees want to work. Now they want to come there. Now they want to share their successes. So it's a give and take.
That's pretty cool how you're able to come in as a fresh set of eyes. And they always say, the answers are within the four walls. Mm-hmm. A lot of those answers are there. You have every employee is an engineer, and you have to have that give and take in the fact of, if you don't care about me personally, how can I trust? And if I can't trust, how do I engage? And it's just that whole circle that always comes back and forth. And it's like the answer is right in front of us. And it's like, and I was guilty of that, of just getting so much on the task. And, but really it's kind of like, especially as leaders, it's sometimes the less effort we put in, the greater results we can get. And that ties into the whole coach approach, right? Of just the fact of, hey, what's going on? Just want to get to know you, want to have that, if I want to help transform you. And then I think that ties back into the whole, kindness and not judging, and just, hey, I'm just curious. That's interesting how you feel that way. Tell me more. Yeah. And it just comes out. And then all of a sudden, man, how come we didn't talk about this before? I don't know, but we are now. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Trevor, I mean, that was even, just such a great point that you just made. And even in that, it is understanding, even as leaders, this is not to beat up on leaders at all, because a lot of times we are tasked with getting the targets done, getting the goals done, making sure we meet our goals, is production up. And a lot of times those things, that noise crowds out the fact of, hey, have I even checked on my people today? Have I even asked how they're doing? So a lot of times it depends on what the noise frequency is of the organization. If it's goals, then that's fine. Let it be goals, but let there be a section where you have a people strategy, where maybe you're tasked with keeping an eye on your people. So that could be something that could be a fix to that too, if you don't really have yourself finding the time to check on someone.
Ties right back to what you said earlier about just being intentional. It doesn't just happen. There's enough noise in the day and enough wind that it won't happen. But if you're intentional, and like you said, there's some type of strategy, whatever that looks like for you personally, for your company. Yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, you and I we don't go back years. Okay. But I can tell you, every interaction I have ever had with you, you're like, what is it about her that's different? And it's clear to me now, this woman is kind. She is like the epitome of kindness. That's what now, and I'm not saying that, I'm saying that only to help me differentiate one person to the next on what the attraction is, right? Mm-hmm. But for our listeners and for me, right? If maybe it's no one else, but you've got a husband and 4 sons. Mm-hmm. Surely you are not kind all the time in that environment. And we need to know, right? Mm-hmm. Curious listeners want to know, at what point do you lose your kindness and say, enough's enough, and enough of the kindness, guys. I mean, it's time for us. What? I mean, where is that breaking point? I'm dying to know.
So I will let you in. I am from Queens, New York. Don't get me wrong. So there is a thug in here. I promise you. Well, I am 5 feet tall on a good day. So, but don't let that stature fool you, because I am quite tough. Even at home, I'm HR, but I am kind. So I live in a home with, 4 boys and my husband. So there's a lot of testosterone. But even in that, I have managed to master the mama eye. So they understand when I mean business, and they know when to stop pushing if they are pushing. So I really don't have to raise my voice. I'm very fortunate that I get to be HR even at home, that they know I mean business, and that, hopefully they'll understand that I am kind. And hopefully they'll say I'm kind if you've asked them. Otherwise, I'll slip them $20 to make sure that they do say that I'm kind.
There you go. There you go. Hey, well, I remember something, and I kindness with a smile. Smile is kindly. Smiling is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not feeling very kind at any time, just at least smile. And Elizabeth, that's, I know that you do that just extraordinarily well. And if that is, for me, that covers a multitude of sins against kindness. And just smile, guys, just smile.
I love the fact too that I picked up on what you're saying, Elizabeth, is sometimes it is the HR person at home. And I was saying to someone the other day that was like, oh, well, yeah, I may be like this at work, but I'm totally different at home. I'm like, dude, you didn't switch bodies and brains, and you're not a different person. So the more we can just be authentic and hey, I'm similar to the way I'm at work and at home. And sometimes I gotta have this hat on at home. But the bottom line is that we just work on ourselves first. And then that transforms into all areas of life, into all different people. And I can see from listening to you, Elizabeth, today is how you've gotten to where you are. And I'm so grateful that you came on today to share your secrets with all our listeners.
Thank you so much, Trevor and Dave, for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I wanted to also point in what you just said about, being 2 different people. I think that's too much work. You have to be your true, authentic self. And it took me a long time to learn and love who I am. And so that's why that's the only person that's ever going to show up every day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Love that. It's the easiest person to be in your life is just who you are. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. How you show up matters.
We'd love for you to subscribe, share with a colleague, and tell us what you think.
Your feedback's important to provide this high-quality, powerful program that makes a difference in your life and others. Take care.
See you next time.